Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Dennis Boateng. I'm your host, and welcome to Generational Maneuvers. Generational, relating to a particular generation or to the relationships between particular generations. Maneuvers, a movement or series of moves requiring skill and care. Your story may not look or sound like mine, but I know that you're in a place to share some gems that could inspire generations to come. Every move is towards the future. Make it count. Hey guys, what's going on? I'm your host, Dennis Boateng, and welcome to Generational Maneuvers. Today, I have an amazing guest, a homie of mine, my brother now, Joshua Abernathy. I met him 3 years ago at the New Balance store. I had just moved here to California, and I saw the New Balance store. I was like, yo, I haven't been in a New Balance store in a while, so we need to make that move. So I asked my wife to make that U-turn. You know, we was driving and then walked in there, and we ended up grabbing some shoes. And then next thing you know, me and you start chopping it up for a couple hours.
Yep.
And here we are now.
Yeah.
All right. So here at Generational Maneuvers, I love being able to sit down with people to be able to share their stories, their origin stories, because I want people to find out about what other people are doing, but what pushed them to do what they do. You know, I believe that a lot of people have purposes and gifts, but what is it that really pushes you to take action with your gift or within your purpose, right? And with you doing what you do, I think it's such an amazing and interesting story to tell, because when you tell people where you're from and where you grew up, a lot of people will only think one way and probably ask you some questions that I now would think like, that's kind of an ignorant question to ask, but you can't really blame people for thinking that way.
Yeah.
But it's just amazing that you're doing what you're doing and coming from where you came from, right? So Joshua, where you from?
I don't do it for the gram. I do it for Compton.
Hey, let's go.
Which, speaking of, that's one question that I get that always would annoy me at first before I had actually listened to Kendrick Lamar was, do you know Kendrick Lamar?
Oh, like, man. Nah.
No.
Nah, but so you are from Compton, USA, and
Make sure you say Compton, California, because I found there's another Compton somewhere in the Midwest.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah,
I wonder what that neighborhood like. But no, so you're from Compton, California, right? Born and raised. And what is it that you do, Josh?
I'm a leather craftsman. So I do handcrafted leather goods, 100% stitched by hand, use no machines. So
Man.
bespoke the way Louis Vuitton used to do it, you know.
That's right.
So, and they still do on some of their higher end, stuff. But yeah, definitely a new bespoke leather goods.
See, there we go. So you're from Compton, and you are a leather master.
I wouldn't say master. I do my thing, but you always I always look at it like this. There are people who have been doing it a lot longer.
Yeah.
That, you know, I look up to.
Word.
You know, so
Word.
I have great reverence for those people too, you know, and I want to be on the level that those guys are
Yeah.
at, you know, just
for sure.
The craftsmanship, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Now that's a very interesting path to take though, right? Because coming from Compton, I could only imagine the things that you've seen and things that you've experienced.
Yeah.
And then to become a leather craftsman, you know, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about, you know, your upbringing in Compton.
Yeah, I mean, born and raised in Compton. A good portion of my family's out there, so you know. But yeah, just the one thing that I was fortunate in that I could say, I didn't have to just go to Compton schools. Like, you know, kindergarten was where I went, and then my parents made sure that I was bussed out.
That's
right.
right.
Which is another reality to a lot of people who do grow up in the city. You know, so you get the people who do stay at the school district, and it's fine. Like they could, succeed and still become, successful individuals.
Yeah.
But a lot of parents want their kids to have more opportunities than what the city may offer or what it's able to offer now. And going to different schools affords you that opportunity, Yeah. So, yeah, definitely. Because of me being able to travel out and go to different cities and stuff, I was able to see different things, and that kind of exposed me to different things. But the foundation of Anew Bespoke all still started in Compton, with my grandma.
Got you, man. That is amazing to hear, because you living in this beautiful community, and I call it beautiful because a lot of people actually miss out on the beauty that actually comes from the community of Compton. Right?
It's hard for people to see it if they didn't grow up there. There's the rough part, but that's the thing about media, is that only the rough part is marketed. And of course, when NWA came out, that's what they're promoting, because that's a part of the anger that comes out of being overlooked.
Of course.
But there's a lot more to the city and a lot more to the people of the city. And I think for me, it's not so much just about the landmark of Compton, but it's about the people that are inside the city. And in all honesty, kind of never forgetting where you come from.
That's right. That's right. Because when you know where you come from, you know where you're going.
That's a part of your identity.
That's right. Now, so grew up in Compton, California. Parents were like, yo, we want you to see more. And then they gave you opportunities to go to different schools and all of that. One thing I do also know about you is that you used to skateboard as well, right? Now, where I come from, where I grew up in Indianapolis, skateboarding wasn't not like the coolest thing. I want to say it didn't become cool till later.
Yeah.
Till people really tapped in with Pharrell's lifestyle and all that cool stuff. Everybody was just playing basketball, football, or just doing things, getting in trouble, right? But I know that here in California, it's part of the culture.
It is. But you still, being a black kid, you still got a little bit of you got some ridicule for. I'm not even gonna say a little bit.
Okay.
You got the white boy remarks and everything else, because that wasn't the norm for us. So, but I will say there's a certain freedom that came along with that, because now the guys that you all hung out with were all kind of in a sense, misfits. We all kind of did our own thing. So I didn't have to subject myself to the same type of rules or, identity that a lot of, younger black kids would have had to subject themselves to, or, feel like, well, this is just what we do.
You got to live outside of the box.
Exactly, yeah.
And then look at the box and see dang, everybody living inside that box, y'all don't know what y'all missing.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just a different experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was definitely a part of molding the way that I was able to navigate too, because, and of course, you grow up in the hood and you go skating you're skating in the front of the house. Most people tend to not look at you and think of you as a gang member or anything else. And even the gangs in the neighborhoods, so you don't get bothered as much. Yeah. In some cases,
Cause you grew up in a Crip neighborhood?
Yeah. Crip neighborhood. Actually, one of the old school rappers, Compton's Most Wanted, MC8, was from the Crip gang that I grew up around.
Wow.
Yeah, so Anew Park, that was but yeah, that was where I grew up. So and of course not too far from rival gangs, or rival Crip gangs, rival blood gangs, whatever else. Yeah.
But here you are now, you know what I mean? Because the thing is too, is a lot of people's realities is that they don't get to make it out, or they get in too deep, or it's just part of the generational path or journey that the whole family takes. Is the loyalty lies within the gang, right? Just like any family, I believe every family has this thing where the loyalty lies in certain things. And then there are some people who grow up and are just I don't believe in that. I don't believe in treating people a certain way. And
then sometimes it's not even so much a loyalty thing. It's a perspective thing.
Perspective, for sure.
You don't even. This is what you see around you, so this is what you know.
That's right.
When I growing up, I wanted to. I looked up to the gang members, not because I thought doing bad things was cool, but because they always appeared to have a certain type of freedom.
Yeah.
That, you know, I didn't see my parents have or whatever else. They kind of did whatever they wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I looked up to that, you know? And that's just you know, kind of what comes with it. But then you see there's another way you can attain that freedom too.
That's right.
You know, and it doesn't have to be that, because at the same time, those guys will tell you too, like, this ain't freedom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you really talk to them, you know, so.
And that's very interesting too, because I mean, I feel like we live in a country too that's very we're uneducated when it comes to the history of Crips or Bloods or any other gang, right?
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother conversation. What I do want to focus on though is just your story too, man. So coming from where you come from, and I know you mentioned your grandma. I know every time that we've had a conversation, I know how dear to your heart she is and the things that you've learned from her.
Yeah.
So I want us to talk a little bit about that, because it relates to where you are now and what you're doing. One thing about you that I always tell you, I even told you today before this interview, is like, I love how you understand quality. And I called you a quality beast.
Thank you. Yeah.
You know, because even when, you know, we've had the pleasure of working on some amazing projects together, whether it's around a New Balance drop or whatever the case may be, or even our clothing brands.
Yeah.
You're the person that I hit up and go to. You're top people on the list. I'm like, hey, bro, what do you think about this? Down to the tag or down to the seam, like all of that good stuff. So let's talk a little bit about the relationship between you and your grandmother.
Well, I mean, you know, that's something that, of course, as a kid, we all have those memories. You know, who were fortunate enough to have our grandparents still be around.
That's right.
We have those memories of like just the small things. You know, like for me, it was sitting out on the back porch eating watermelon, or you know, and that sounds like, you know, some type of stereotypical stuff. But that's a lot of people don't. That my grandparents were from the South.
Yeah.
And my grandpa actually used to be able to pick watermelons. Like, so the watermelons were always the best. Summer times.
Wow.
All of my cousins would be at my grandma's house. We'd be in the backyard. Older cousins, younger cousins, we'd be playing, you know, tying each other to the clotheslines and stuff like that. But of course, they don't want anything spilled in the house, so we eat outside. You know, and you know, those are my memories. You know, spending time with her, but always seeing her sew too.
Yeah.
You know, all of us saw it. Like grandma made, you know, stuff for me. She made my sister's like prom dress or after prom dress, one or the other. But it looked, these things that she would create, that she'd make for people, even just down to regular alterations, just looked great.
Yeah.
You know, and I always respected the craft.
Yeah.
You know, but at the time, being a young kid, I was skateboarding, so I didn't really spend time doing that with her, you know, until later on, until after I stopped skating. And when the time came and I stopped, I told her, I'm gonna start, you know, sewing with you. And I had a lot of skate clothes and a lot of denim that I didn't 100% like the fit on.
Yeah.
And rather than just, you know, going to a tailor and taking, I'm like, I have my grandma, but I didn't want her to just do it. I wanted her to show me.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to understand how to actually get the fit that I wanted, because I knew how it was. I was too particular, you know?
Yeah.
There was even times where I'd gone skating with buddies, bought a pair of pants, went to the skate park, and before I actually skated, I looked at them and I said, I don't like the way these lay on my shoes. Went back, and good thing I was cool with the owner of the skate shop. We were, you know, he allowed me to exchange it. But you know, it was like, I've always been particular about that. So sitting under her allowed me to actually understand sewing, you know, and to learn and to develop a new passion in a sense.
Yeah.
Because it was skating, and then I had to transition into that. Wow. And that wound up leading me to this path of, you know, altering all my clothes, you know, and creating pieces and seeing people actually respond to them.
Man.
And then from there, that was when my friends who were into vintage denim took me to a tailor shop in downtown Long Beach, and I saw he was making a belt. And that kind of bugged me out, because I had already started tinkering with leather and keychains and, you know, small accessories. And then I saw him make that, and I was like, well, that looks like a more finished product than what I made, you know, at the time. So I wanted to do something from scratch like that, that would have more value. And being leather, it automatically has a greater weight to it, a greater value as far as the way it feels, how it lasts, you know. And so that spun into a whole other thing. After he made a belt for me, I got my own supplies to make a belt and made my first belt. And then from there, it just gradually escalated.
How old were you when you made your first belt?
I was old, really. I mean, older. You know, I wasn't like starting young. I was about 20. It was 2017.
Okay.
I was about 20.
You don't.
My
You
math
ain't
is
got
so,
to age yourself.
I mean,
You gotta age
I was
yourself.
20. I was late
Yeah.
20s though. 'Cause
Yeah.
I stopped skating at 26, so I'd say about 27.
Got you.
Yeah, 27.
Got you.
Yeah.
So you decided like, yo, I can do this.
Yeah, that's really where it started. Was I could do it just out of a appreciation for what he was doing, but then it just looked, at least the standard belt looked simple enough to where I could do it myself.
Yeah.
You know, and I just wanted to make it for myself, not to sell it or anything, just to make it for myself.
Wow.
You know.
And I think that is so important, right? Because a lot of times we spend so much money trying to get things to fit around what it is that we want, instead of maybe taking the time to truly understand what it is that we want.
Yeah.
Learn it, so then either we could make it, or at least find a way how to make it, or understanding the process.
Yeah.
So then if somebody is making it for us, we can give the proper instructions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think, you know, once again, one thing that you do really well is being on top of quality. You know what I mean? Like, I think your eye to quality is probably unmatched, in my opinion.
Oh, thank you.
Because
man.
the conversations that we've had, no, seriously. I mean, me and you have had long conversations. We've talked about Ralph Lauren. We've talked about Aimé Leon Dore, which a lot of people don't know how to pronounce.
Yeah.
Aimé Leon Dore. We've also talked about Kith, and, you know, just admiring what these people have done as well.
Exactly.
But even, you know, to the Pottas and Brooklyn Circus.
Yeah.
I mean, these are people that do amazing work, and we admire what they're doing because of the quality.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That's like those details, I feel like, are what make quality. You know, it's not always about, you know, the name or the embroidery or whatever else. Like, the embroidery plays into the quality, but, which, you know, I love embroideries.
Yeah.
But it's really about the thought, you know, the intentionality that goes into a product. Because Fear of God, for example, very simple silhouettes, and a lot of what they're known for, their sweats, right?
Yeah.
But the weights, the weight of the French terry that they use, the placement of the logos, the color selection. These are all things that tie into giving a product longevity.
That's right.
Which, that to me is what makes something high quality. Does it have versatility as well as longevity? Like, or is it just, you know, I've never been a huge fan of like not necessarily high end fashion, but the runway looks.
Yeah. I totally understand what you mean.
You can't wear that anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, the technicality of the creation and the craftsmanship is dope.
Yeah, unmatched.
But like, I would never wear it.
Yeah.
You know, if some the people who do wear it, maybe they wear it once, but then they don't want to go back to it.
That's right.
So it's like, to me, it's like, what am I gonna wear that's gonna make me feel something time and time and time again? Whatever it is, the car you drive, you know, the shoes you wear, the clothes you put on, you know, the way you get your hair cut. Like, all these things are, you know, the key. But those are the small things that all make something stand out as a whole.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, no, for sure. And even talking about that, I do want to talk about also too, like, your, you know, working at New Balance, and how does that play? Because one, you are really great with leather, and also you design and got your own clothes, and you got your own brand, and then working at New Balance and interacting with the product. How is that for you? Like, do you look at because I mean, yes, we've had many great conversations about, you know, different silhouettes as well when it comes to New Balance. But when you first see it, when you open the box and you see it, like, what is your first thought, like, when you interact with a product?
One thing that comes off immediately that kind of takes me back to childhood, the smell. You know, when something isn't like, all right, for example, with New Balance and like the Made in USA shoes, and them using the same type of high quality pigskin suede that they use, when you open the box, it smells a certain way.
Yeah.
When I was younger, and I used to love Adidas Superstars, and you open the box and there's a smell to it, but it's not like, you know, it's not like a full leather smell, but there's that fresh, like, I got a new shoe
you got
smell.
a fresh pair of kicks.
Exactly. And it goes into that kind of nostalgia that you get. Like, it's that feeling, like, you almost, you know, when you bought something that didn't have the quality to it, when you open it and you almost just like, okay, cool, I got it, and put it away.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Or else you've just been numbed to it. But with New Balance, with some of these other running brands, is they do the collaborative shoes and everything. And I say some of these other running brands because a lot of them are good and they have great shapes on their shoes, but it's like, that's also another part that goes into the quality, like the attention to detail in the shape, the differences. You know, like New Balance fans know, like New Balance is known for gray. It's a very basic color, but the shapes and how they change on their shoes from a 990 to a 991 to a 992 to a 998, 1300, one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Like these are all things that make the difference, you know?
Yes.
And I'm in there every day. Like when I started working there, the guys were kind of like, you know, at the, like you already, like you really like this stuff.
That's
and
right.
I'm like, yeah, because I see what goes into the product. You know, and that's what made it hard for me to wear certain shoes for a long time, because the quality control and everything else that I was seeing in New Balance was very consistent with what I liked, and it didn't disappoint. I buy shoes and I don't want to get rid of them.
That's right.
You know?
No, I can totally relate to that. And to be fully honest, I think for me as a kid, like, of course, you want the coolest and the flashiest and everything. I think when you're younger, you're not necessarily thinking about quality and comfort, right? No. You're thinking about what's going to give me more attention.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, well, some adults do that too still.
Yeah.
But I think for me, that mindset did switch when I first put my foot into a New Balance sneaker. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
You know, and I believe I started out with a 574.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, shoot, these are, like, comfortable. And this was back in, I want to say, middle school or high school. And I remember somebody saying, why are you wearing old man shoes? I'm like, all right, man, these are so comfortable. Yeah. Like, you know, and I think the summer of, I want to say 2012 or 2013, no, actually 2010, I had a pair of 998s, some gray 998s. And I wore those to the ground. I mean, yeah, so when you talk about quality and the fits and understanding what it takes, I think we do have that in common when it comes to the New Balance brand and everything. I want to also talk more about your brand, Anew Bespoke. Right? You've had the first collection that you did. What was it titled?
So the first collection that I did, wasn't really a collection. You know, I titled them collections. That was all I knew to call them. Yeah. But it did tell a story. You know, but it was just one product really, or two. So it was a navy blue slim card holder wallet that actually was navy blue, had yellow stitching with a red painted trim on it, and that was meant to pay homage. It was called the Homage Collection, and it was meant to pay homage to my love for denim at the time. And that was the same denim that I was working on at my grandma's house to alter the fit, because I was getting hand-me-down vintage LVCs and you know double RLs from friends, and I was adjusting the fit, you know, to get it right. So it was about that, you know, and I took basically those colors that you'll see, you know, the indigo, the yellow that you'll see on like the golden kind of stitching on the denim, and the red for the selvage that's on like vintage denim where they have the selvage still on there. So that was where it started, you know, with that simple, you know, the small card holder. It wasn't even lined or anything. You could see the rough side, the flesh side of the leather on the inside of the wallet, and it had a denim hat with it that I actually cut some selvage from LVC denim that I had and actually stitched it into the strap of the hat. Wow. So, and then, you know, the clean Anew Bespoke embroidery on it.
Yep.
So
I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, that was the first that I would say was official. That was when I actually had, you know, a website for it, when I built the website for it and was just going from there with it. That was the first. But of course, you know, fast forward, that collection actually is kind of tying in to what the next one I'm working on called Aloe, that fully pays homage, you know, to my grandma. And looking back on it, it's not just like this particular grandma. It's like, you know, my other grandma who's really into designer stuff, you know, some of the women at my church that, you know, saw that I was sewing and, you know, offered me machines or offered me, you know, tips or whatever. So it kind of pays homage to that while paying homage to, you know, the city that I came from. Yeah. So the colors won't be indigo. That was originally the plan. But after thinking about my grandma's house and growing up in the backyard and, the aloe vera plants that she had growing everywhere that we would use if we scratched ourselves or whatever else. It was her cure for everything.
Wow.
So that made it to like, okay, my cousin Janal, thank you, told me, he was, why don't you just call it aloe? And I was like, it's simple,
fits,
it's right?
right?
It was perfect. So so that's gonna be the next one that I plan to release in February.
Man, I'm excited for that because, I mean, for people who don't know, like me and Josh talk.
Yeah. We have some real conversations.
We be having some real conversations. Some even sometimes in frustration on on our designs or what we want to release and different things, or even just critiquing what's going on.
Yeah.
In the whole streetwear brands and the classic streetwear brands or the high end streetwear brands.
What you guys are getting is a bridge today. That's the
not facts. I do want to talk a little bit too, because you've also worked with the youth as well, right? So you've been a skateboarder, grew up in Compton. Now you're doing what you're doing with your brand, and also you worked in New Balance as well. I want to talk about with all these things that you've done, like what do you have in store for the future? Because like I said, I know that you also, you rock with the youth, man.
Yeah.
Like you're a good guy. Like you like to inspire the younger generation as well. What does the future look like?
Honestly, taking a new Bespoke as far as I can and being that change of perspective, not just for the people outside of Compton, but the people in Compton and cities like Compton, where now the kid doesn't look at it as, I have these three options. I can be an athlete, a rapper, or, maybe have something, a pawn shop. I don't know. Whatever thoughts may be, the things that we see.
Yeah.
So just to kind of change that perspective and give them something different. And now you see more kids looking at it as like, okay, I could be a designer.
Yes.
And you see so many people who want to start a clothing brand.
Yep.
That I wanted to do it as just a clothing brand in the beginning. But the leather gave me something that I felt was more special. That's right. So, and that's what it really comes down to when it comes to product and the quality. That's what makes a product special. Yeah. It's not just the item itself, it's everything behind it, the storytelling, the selection of the small details, the attention to the small details. All those things are what makes something special. And I feel like I want to be able to kind of be that light, to someone who may look at me and say like, dang, like this guy's doing something different. Yeah. Even if like, and it's funny because after I left skating, I had kids that were younger than me that were still skating, and some kids that still remembered me from, showing them tricks on a skateboard or whatever. And I was like, dang, that's pretty crazy.
Skateboard OG.
Yeah. And I was sitting there thinking like, dang, that's pretty crazy. These guys actually, some of them still rock with it, to this day. And I'm like, that's crazy that you never know who's paying attention. Yeah. And that was kind of like confirmation to me. You never know who's paying attention. I don't know who's paying attention to what I'm doing right now. Yeah. But it gives someone an option.
That's right.
Another point of view that they can look at and say, okay, well, he figured out he was good at this. Well, maybe I can be good at that. And maybe they try it and maybe they're not, but maybe they realize they're good at the business aspect of it or whatever else may come of it.
Now, let me ask you this question. Because I feel like a mistake that I feel like a lot of people do make when they're in their bag is not giving back, the Sankofa effect of, reaching back and giving something to the youth, or even being some type of mentor or taking somebody under your wing. I feel like when you don't do that, it's almost like the gift dies. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like for you, if you see a kid in Compton and doesn't know whether they have options or not, or doesn't know what they want to do, or they ask you like, yo, like, can I do this? Or what do you tell them? What do you tell them, especially coming from a certain environment? What type of advice do you tell that kid?
I mean, depends on what they're asking, because I think every response has to be tailored to the person, So first, of course, we have to really listen to them. And I think with that, it comes down to, well, what are you doing? What are you good at? What do you like to do? Yeah. I always start there. Like, what do you like to do? What are you interested in? And then figuring it out, you know, like, well, encouraging them. Because sometimes in passing, depending on how much you're around a person, you may not be able to give them as much of yourself as you'd like to, you know?
That's right.
And especially, you already know, like, being a father, married, like, I'm married, got a kid on the way. So it's like, you have to give what you can. But then I think, for me, the biggest thing that I want to, what I'm focusing on is hitting the people immediately around me, you know?
Yeah.
Even if it just comes down to, like, uplifting someone who's like you know, or, you know, another friend who's doing something. It's like push at it. Like, well, what are your goals with it? You know, the same way we critique and feedback.
Yep, keeping
like,
each other accountable.
Exactly. This right here and what we do off camera.
Yep.
That's the way that we have to do it with, you know, the youth. With,
That's right.
You know, not even just the youth, but the people who may not know what path they want to take.
That's right.
You know?
That's right. I think, because I think that's really important, because even for me, I didn't know what was possible. I've never seen anybody do this, like, to where they're like, hey, you can do it too. It's almost like I've always, in a way, God has just kind of pushed me and I stumble into something and then learn like, oh, dang, God, now I know why you pushed me. Like, and then I meet good people, build solid relationships and cherishing those and nurturing those relationships, which then turn into something amazing. Just like me and you right now, you know, like we vibed off of, you know, talking about New Balance, you know what I'm saying? Because I came to the store and I believe I got some 990s. By the way, I remember I almost got the triple black 990s. And I remember you and Danielle looked at me like, nah, bro. The gray ones. I was about to be out here looking very dangerous.
Oh yeah, you know. But what's funny about that? Fast forward, recently I got a pair of the triple black 992s.
Okay.
But again, shapes make a difference.
Facts.
And also perspective on what you think you can do with it. Before I was like, that's just, you know, it wasn't gonna work.
Yeah.
This I'm like, now with the new pants coming out that I'm working on that are gonna be full cut, and so that I was like, okay, I can figure out a color from this. It kind of made me want to figure out a color. That could go with that. Because the only pair of all black shoes besides these I could remember having were Air Force Ones in high school.
Oh, you was a dangerous brother.
I was out here looking like a jack boy. Like real talk. I was the only one, and I got those because everyone had the all whites, obviously. It was 2006.
Yep.
Like, so I was like, nah, you know what? Let me get the all black ones.
I
got the all black ones.
Step in a little different.
Got the all black ones, and I liked them.
Yeah.
But it's not as versatile.
Yeah.
So it kind of made me, I kind of wanted to create something that could be versatile with an all black shoe.
Wow.
Which I feel is tough, because I feel like black is a very polarizing color, you know?
It is. But that's amazing to hear. And all I hear from is like utilizing the things that people don't necessarily take the time to understand.
Yeah.
Right? Which I feel like is something that continues to play in your story. Like, I don't know anybody who would have taken their time to be like, yo, I need to look at that leather and build my own belt. Like, I don't know anyone that does that. And you continue to implement that in every single piece that you do. The quality, the storytelling, it's really amazing. And I'm excited for the great things that you're going to be doing in the future as well. So before we wrap this up, is there any gems or advice that you would like to leave the audience with that they could take today with them, that they could implement in whatever it is that they're doing? Because, like I said earlier, like everything we do is a generational maneuver.
Yeah.
So every single step that we make is a step forward. So what gem do you want to leave the audience?
Keep seeking knowledge, you know, keep seeking wisdom and understanding of different things that are going on around you. I mean, it's like how it comes back to that perspective, right? The kids that do certain things, like that are far beyond what we think is possible, it's usually because they've seen that already. Like, I think about Ronnie Feig's story and how he talks about how, you know, he saw David Z and he told him, I want a job, you know, but he had to first see David Z doing what he was doing in order for him to be like, this is different. I like that, and I want to follow that different path. It's the same thing. Like, you know, you have to not be afraid to ask questions, you know, and just really what you find that you're gravitating towards, that's a good thing, work at it, research it, figure it out, you know, get as much information as you can.
Yeah.
And actually practice it. Don't just research and then leave it. Because a lot of us get caught in that, you know, a lot of research and a lot of, you know, second guessing and, you know, oh, well, dang, like, had I thought like that, I wouldn't have made that first belt.
Yeah.
And what's funny about that is that was February 17, 2017 when I made that first belt. And I remember it because I notched it in the belt. But also I was in the middle of making the belt. And of course, with having not all the tools and everything, there was a blackout. So the lights went out and I was sitting there, I was like, dang, I was halfway, like basically done. I had to put like the keepers on to help keep the end of the belt in.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to finish it.
Yeah.
You know, and I
Determined.
grabbed a flashlight, had a small flashlight in my mouth and was sitting there stitching the pieces, you know, just because I wanted to finish it, because I wanted to wear it to work that next day.
That's dedication right there. Yeah, that's amazing.
You know, but I had to keep doing it, you know. If I had just been like, oh, it's a blackout, I probably would have sat it down and just got busy with work, you know.
Yeah, so keep going no matter what comes.
Yeah, and I mean, and whatever you really decide to do, I think a lot of it comes down to making a decision too.
Yeah.
Like, you know, make this decision, like, I'm going to stick to this and ride out with it regardless. Like, the brand's in its February is its 5-year anniversary.
Yeah.
But I don't have this big following. You know, I have a lot of close-knit, you know, people,
it's a community.
customers. Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, the main thing I'd tell them is find something that you really want to do as much research as you can, try it out, and if it works, make a decision to stick with it.
Yeah.
Because that decision to stick with it is going to help you progress so much faster than you bouncing from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. And you'll be able to go further.
Wow.
And just have that patience, because it's going to take time. None of these guys, you know, Kith, ALD, like none of these guys, Ralph Lauren, none of them started and just went off.
That's so true.
It was a lot of foundation built before they made it to who they are.
Man, that's facts, and they kept with it too. So, Josh, man, thank you so much for, you know, coming to Generational Maneuvers.
Always,
and
man.
Talking your talk, letting people know who you are, where you came from, and what you're doing now. I think that you have an amazing story. For the viewers out there, please tap in with my brother, Joshua Abernathy, because he's going to be doing some amazing things, as he already is doing. So, Josh, where can they find you?
Instagram, Anew Bespoke, and the website, anewbespoke.com. And you can just find me, Joshua.Abernathy, on Instagram, too. So, ANEWBESPOKE.
Get that spelling right, you heard?
Yeah.
But all right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Dennis Boateng, and this is Generational Maneuvers. Make sure you check us out on all podcast platforms, any platform that you can listen to the podcast, and you can also watch us on YouTube. Thank you so much, and have a good one.